So, and as a previous episode, we took you along with assembling the engine, completing it, and even showing you guys the valve seals. Here it is. And of course, have it more complete. And then now installing the new clutch, the XCD OEM replacement, got the engine in the car, and of course, your favorite compression test. And of course, this is the compression test before startup. And remember this, the black PCV box at the back of the block. We're gonna show you guys updates on this and what we did, and also the extra stuff that we're gonna do, because on episode 3 we did talk about this, and it's for extra vacuum because of part throttle and mid throttle. We'll get to the initial startup of the car or of the engine, and of course we're gonna keep sharing some good technical stuff. And as we showed you on the earlier episode, the stock head is just port matched with good stuff like Supertech valve seals, and the crank, because the block, because the crank was already installed, it was from this to this finished up. And also, when the timing belt and all the other accessories arrived, we installed it all into the car. And here it is now, all back in its old original home, back on the engine bay. And the intake manifold is not yet on because we're gonna install the PCV. And also, one trick that we do, and you have to do this, is the last 1 liter of the oil, we pour it on top of the valve cover or the rocker arms, because this part is gonna be bone dry during cranking, so that's gonna be dangerous. Here we put the black box, and so let's go to this. And if you remember on episode 3, we discussed about the PCV system of the OEM black box, and actually asked you guys to watch the volumetric efficiency and the crankcase evacuation video, because look, you can see the inlet from the block is like at least 3 times bigger than the OEM line into the PCV one-way valve and then the intake manifold. So what we had to do was we couldn't put it on top there because it hits the water neck or the water pipe. So we're gonna fit this here behind. This way, there's 2 sources of vacuum pulling there, and we're gonna use this one-way valve of OEM B16 and Type R. And we're gonna have 1 extra fitting into the intake manifold, because we're not gonna tee it because you're just dividing the source. So this is gonna be from the black box here, and then the PCV valve, and then into the intake manifold like that. This way, now from part throttle and especially idle, you have 2 vacuum sources taking away the blow by or the crankcase evacuation from the block. And then onto the intake manifold, this is what we did. Because the vacuum line comes from here, all then down to the middle, and then go to the black box, we could just tee that, right? But we won't, because that's like making no difference, because you're teeing it to 1 source or origin of vacuum. So we're gonna tap it here for an extra fitting. This way, the second line to the black PCV box goes there. Oh, wait, oh. Crap, sorry. Here, we're gonna tap this here. So now there's an extra line for the PCV system. This way, on idle and part throttle, is pulling enough or pulling more than usual or than before. This way, it might just be more efficient than lighter, free running engine, right? Because it's still all stock engine. So we're just trying to go for maximum efficiency. And of course, fuel efficiency, because the owner has lists of the mileage of this car monthly. So I'll be curious to see if we improve it or got it better, right? So there, now we're gonna drill and tap that so that it is ready for the vacuum lines, and we're gonna show you once we get it done and install. All right. Okay, so now let's go for that. we'll get this worked on first, and the next scene, it's all done. Alright. And as we said, here it is. We've tapped the rear of the intake manifold or the back of the plenum and runners for the vacuum fitting. There's an extra one because the front one is already being used, and here it is on the side. This part here comes from the black box, then the one-way valve, and then to the intake manifold. And here the view from the top, you can see once this hose is installed and clamped, once the throttle and the intake is installed, this is going to be discreet and not noticeable. So it's going to be really clean. And here, let me show you this. This is the grounding kit that we did that's specifically to work really good for our cars. And of course, instead of looking for a surplus one, this one is exactly brand new that we made. And you can check with your tuner that running proper ground would actually improve your car, because the tuner can actually tune this better because everything will function correctly. This is actually another way to let him show you how good he can tune. And the thing that it's worth mentioning is that the grounding kit is placed strategically. One of them goes near or on to the same bolt as the transmission ground. This way everything is correct on the passenger headlight section of the chassis, because a lot of times the ground for the headlight and all the other accessories come from there. And the other one is onto the IACV, because the intake manifold has a lot of sensors, and so having a proper ground on that makes sure everything, including the IACV, function properly. And the other one is to the thermostat housing, because that's where the ground for the ECU comes from. So this way everything has the same ground source. And lastly, one for the alternator, because even Tony Palo of T1 Race Development did talk about this in Hondata, that he disliked and he suggested people not to powder coat, paint, or even chrome the alternator bracket because it ruins the interference of the ground from the block into the alternator. Therefore, the alternator, no matter how good it charges, if it doesn't have enough ground, it's not charging enough. So this way, we have one line going directly to the alternator bolt. This way, you're sure you have good ground. So when you think about it, I'm sure your tuner will agree that this is a good help for your car. After a retune, of course. So check out our page once we get this ready for production, because it's just gonna be 2,000 pesos locally. That's gonna be cheap for you guys to remove a lot of potential headaches, right? And 2,000 pesos is roughly $40. And when you think about it, this will come with a negative and positive quick release battery terminal. So battery removal becomes a lot easier even for that, right? So check out our page for all the orders for this grounding kit, because we're gonna have it ready for you guys. So the page will have all the information or all the details when it comes to ordering these. And also our grounding kits uses a gauge 8 wire with a gauge 8 core, I mean, not those flimsy wires. So here the layout will be, one goes to the alternator here, and then the IACV, and then the thermostat housing, and of course the transmission. This way all the ground is working properly. Right, so now let's go prime the engine. Alright, now with the ignition unplugged and the injectors unplugged, we crank this to prime the oil pump. We wait until the oil light comes off. That means it reached the necessary pressure, or the oil light turns off, I mean. Okay, wait, it's taking a while because of course this is a newly assembled or newly built engine. Okay, let's do it again. Oh, there. I should have just continued. Right? It's okay, now it's good. Now let's try it again. Hopefully it turns off really quick. Okay, now this. Now we plug up, everything is ready for startup. But of course, your favorite, let's compression test before it runs. Shall we? Let's go. Okay, let's start with piston number 1. Remember, this hasn't even run yet. Oh, 200. What do you think about that? It still hasn't run, but it's already 200 psi, just like before. So this is gonna get better along the way, or as the miles go. Oh, 200 again. Hey, nice, nice. So 201 and 202. I mean, 200 on the cylinder number 1, and cylinder number 2 is also 200. Now it's 3. Let's see. Oh, would you look at that? It's also 200. Not bad. It hasn't even run. Okay, the last one, piston number 4. Oh, would you look at that? It's 200 across the board before even running. So let's look at number 1 again, just to be sure. Oh, yep, that's definitely 200. Wow. Now this just turned even more promising, because when if you remember, at 97,000 kilometers mileage, it was already 200 psi across the board, right? But this time it hasn't even run yet. It has brand new piston rings, and it's already 200 psi. When we all know the piston rings will eventually sit in and even seal better. So this might be 210, 215, or even 220 psi before the base run dyno. And we're gonna do that compression test before the base run dyno. Don't you worry about that. Alright, so now let's try to start it up. Let's go. Okay, now let's hop back in and try to start the car. Oh, what the hell? I mean, sorry. It just ran. Yeah, rev it like a racer. No, just kidding. Oh man, this car is super friendly. I mean, look at that. It just one click, but of course we compression tested it earlier and all that, so it's all primed up, and look, it's gonna be good. And so we're gonna warm it up a bit and then drive it around, and it'll show you guys. Okay, hold on. Okay, here we're driving it around a bit. Alright. And see, we don't really do any braking. It's more like a break-in for the piston ring. So we drive it normal as we do. This way, the piston rings get to seat properly. And actually, not to be biased, but it's actually pulling a lot stronger now. Who knows? Maybe it's the newly reconditioned engine, or even the PCV help, the crankcase evacuation. Hey, who knows? This pulls actually significantly better than before, so that is good. And now we're back. Engine looking good, no unusual leaks and all that. My colleague is, there he removed the tablecloth or whatever that's called. Yep, everything looks good. Now we shut it down. Alright, now we're gonna drive it a little bit more tomorrow and the next few days, because we're still tasked on replacing all the brakes and all the adjustments, and of course double checking all the wires and making sure the fan runs properly, and of course installing our grounding kit. And then, before that, we compression test again on the next episode before we dyno it again. So you want to check on that, right? So it's nice to see that we came from this and slowly inched towards our way of rebuilding. And a lot of locals don't understand that when we rebuild an engine, it's a sin for me to not add improvements, because you're already rebuilding it. So why not improve it? It's like you're giving it a new life. So, hey, why not give it a new, better, and stronger life? And here, we engine washed the engine bay because, we gotta stay clean. That's how we work. We always work with clean environment. So here, looks really good, right? So, hey, you gotta subscribe, because of the next episode, we're gonna compression test it again and head back to Dyno Pro for a dyno run on this engine, see if we improved it, and hit the like button. And of course, on the end of this video, on the end screen, the next episode will be there as soon as we finish it, so you can just click over here.